Hello and welcome to another edition of Inside the Inferno. I'm Lauren Avenatti alongside Stephen Buxton, who is making his anchor debut today. Stephen, how do you feel about being on the desk for the very first time?
Lauren, I'm excited to be here. It's great to be back on camera again. And more importantly, we've got a good show today. We've got volleyball, soccer, football. It's one of the best times of the year for sports, and there's a lot to talk about.
Starting off strong with some updates on the gridiron, ASU football was shut out at home for the first time since 1988. Jack Bartlett was there to capture all the action.
Injuries and turnovers were the two big issues for the Sun Devils as they fell 29-0 to Fresno State here at Mountain America Stadium. There was 8 turnovers from 3 different quarterbacks. Trenton Bourguet went down after the second drive. Drew Pine got injured later in the game. And that left things to Jacob Conover, but unfortunately for ASU, just not a lot of luck came their way tonight as they lost to Fresno State.
Our defense fought hard and battled, 8 turnovers, giving up 29 points. That's remarkable, to be honest. When you have 8 turnovers and you give up 29 points, it's just one of the most incredible things I've ever been a part of.
Following a string of injuries, the Sun Devils were down to QB4, Jacob Conover.
Trenton got pulled out, obviously, he had lower leg injury that we're going to get an MRI on, and we'll find out the severity. And then Drew came out for another muscular injury on the same legs.
With a brand new quarterback and following a game in which the offense amassed 8 turnovers, ASU is desperately looking to repair the offense ahead of next week.
We just got to get, offense rolling a little bit, and I'm going to do everything in my power this week to help that and to fix that.
It was the defense that received recognition last night, allowing just 2 touchdowns while picking up 6 sacks and 8 tackles for loss. The defense did more than its fair share in the loss.
Win and lose together. No matter what the offense is doing, we're going to keep going out there fighting, we're going to keep going out there battling for those boys.
A top-ranked USC Trojans team led by Heisman winner Caleb Williams come to town next weekend to face ASU. From Inferno Intel, this has been Jack Bartlett.
Thanks, Jack. To take a deeper dive into ASU's recent struggles, we welcome to the desk Inferno Intel football reporter Ari Wall. Ari, the Sun Devils had 8 turnovers, but more importantly, 4 before half. What went wrong, especially early on for ASU?
Yeah, well, the big thing was Fresno State's defense was just running right through the Sun Devils' offensive line. They just seemed to have no answer for that Bulldogs defense. So we're going to go take a look at some of the highlights, or in this case, the lowlights from last week's game. Here's starting off in the first quarter. Trenton Bourguet, in the quarterback, he had to come in and play instead of Jaden Rashada after Rashada got injured. And here you see Bulldogs running right through the middle. He's got about 2 seconds to get rid of it. Looking to his left, trying to find Melquan Stovall. Instead, ends up throwing an interception early on in the first. Now, later on, this is Drew Pine in at quarterback. Again, Bulldogs pass rush comes right in on Pine. Less than 2 seconds to react. Ends up fumbling the ball away. Fresno State takes over. Later on in the second, Pine again, 3rd and 7. Bulldogs look like they're coming to the outside. Instead, they shoot right up the middle. Pine tries to go backwards to avoid the sack. Instead, fumbles it away once again, and the Fresno State takes over. This is actually a completion here from Pine. He's got 2 seconds, and he does a nice job finding the middle where Xavier Gilroy is there, gets it complete for a first down. And then here's Jacob Conover in the fourth quarter. He does a nice job here with a minute and a half, able to avoid the pass rush and roll out to his left, then looking downfield, trying to make something happen, ends up throwing it into quadruple coverage and throws an interception. And that basically sums up how the afternoon went for these Sun Devil quarterbacks.
The big news this morning, Drew Pine was announced the starter for Saturday, and ASU, they're a 34-point underdog. If there is a way, what's the path to completing the upset?
Yeah, well, it's going to be tough, that's for sure. They got to try to contain Caleb Williams, last year's Heisman winner for USC. He's having another great season, 939 total yards and 13 touchdowns through the first 3 games. But if there was one positive takeaway from ASU versus Fresno State, it was their defense. They allowed just 15 points and no touchdowns off of the 8 offensive turnovers, and that was actually the fewest points allowed by an FBS team with 8 or more turnovers since at least 2012. On the offensive side of things, they need Cam Scadaboo to be a big offensive weapon. He rushed for just 15 yards last weekend, and after winning the Big Sky Offensive Player of the Year award last year, he's got to be someone the Sun Devils look to get the offense going early. And then the offensive line, as we just mentioned, has to be solid regardless of what quarterback we see, whether it be Pine to start and then Conover sometime later. The offensive line has to be there to protect the quarterbacks. The defense has to play as well as they did last week. And then they need Cam Scadaboo or someone on that offense to put up some points. As Lauren mentioned early, shut out for the first time at home since 1988. So we're probably going to see some decent fans there at Mountain America Stadium against USC, even if it is a lot of USC fans. But it should be interesting to see how it all plays out.
It's going to be interesting to see, indeed. But thanks for stopping by, Ari. Now, transitioning from the gridiron to the hardwood, ASU volleyball is undefeated so far this season. The team hasn't lost a set since September 3rd. The Sun Devils just played in a packed Mullet Arena on Thursday for their Pac-12 home opener. John Kinney has more on their dominant start.
ASU swept their rival from down south, U of A, 3-0, right here at Mullet Arena in front of a sold-out crowd.
ASU's Marta Levinska had some key kills in the game against U of A. She was able to help give momentum back to Arizona State with her kills in the first and second set. She had a game-high total of 19 kills in the game. The downside Arizona State had is they had 6 serving errors last night. ASU head coach J.J. Van Neel spoke after the game what the sold-out crowd at Mullet Arena meant to him and his team.
Yeah, I mean, everyone was fired up. Like, it's fun. You know, I'm sure there was nerves for them, you know, at the beginning because there's a lot of people. We haven't played in a lot of people yet. I mean, I think our biggest crowd so far this year until this was our Cardinal or maroon and gold game. Yeah. And back then, right? So that was like the biggest crowd we had faced. So I'm sure there were some nerves. Like, I think that's why it took a little while to get our serving going. But they settled in, and I mean, at the end of the day, once you start playing volleyball, you're just playing some volleyball. So I was fired up. I really appreciate all the fans that came out, and they were into it. It was really fun.
ASU will return to action here at Mullet Arena on Sunday when they face the University of Washington at 1 o'clock right here. For Inferno TV, this is John Kinney.
Thanks for that, John. We'll have to see if the Sun Devils are able to make it 8 straight sweeps. Moving on to the field, ASU women's soccer made a statement on Friday facing Colorado College before Pac-12 play begins. Alex DaCosta is here in the studio to fill us in. What you got, Alex?
Yeah, Lauren, the Sun Devils wasted no time gaining possession of the ball. Within the first 10 minutes, junior forward Carrie Matthews scored the first goal of the game off of a corner kick. By the second half, ASU doubled its lead. Senior forward Gabby Rennie scored the second goal in the 55th minute off of a long shot sent across the field by sophomore midfielder Inasia Cologne. In the last 10 minutes of the game, graduate student defender Liska Carlier gets a head off of Cologne's free kick. The goal initially was not counted, but once officials came together, it was determined ASU closed their non-conference games with a 3-0 win against Colorado College. The Sun Devils host their first Pac-12 game of the season against the Oregon State Beavers this Friday.
Thanks, Alex. It'll be fun to watch the start of conference play later today. But that's all we've got today. Lauren, it was great sharing the desk with you today.
Yeah, Stephen, a fun show and an exciting weekend ahead for Sun Devil sports. And to stay up to date on everything going on, be sure to follow our social media at Inferno Intel and check out our website at infernointelmedia.com.
For Lauren Avenatti and our entire crew, I'm Stephen Buxton saying so long. We'll see you next week on Inside the Inferno.